You know that feeling when your salary finally hits your account and for about 10 minutes you feel like you've got it all figured out? The number looks healthy, so you tell yourself this month is going to be different. No wasteful spending, no random extra purchases. You're finally going to be the responsible version of yourself you keep promising to become. Then you check your calendar. Rent's due in 4 days. Your car needs an oil change. Your phone plan quietly renewed itself for more than you remembered agreeing to. A friend's birthday dinner shows up out of nowhere. And by the time the month wraps up, you're staring at your balance thinking, wait, where did it actually go? Here's the strange part. This isn't just your problem. It's not even a this generation problem. Every single generation has stood in this exact spot, asking this exact question. Boomers asked it, Gen X asked it, millennials are still asking it out loud on the internet. Gen Z is asking it earlier than anyone expected. And here's the thing. Each generation genuinely believes their version of the struggle is the hardest one anyone's ever faced. The truth is a little more uncomfortable than that. It's not that money suddenly got harder to manage. It's that the same 7 mistakes keep getting recycled, generation after generation, just wearing different outfits. New apps, new excuses, same traps, same ending. My name's Growbit, and today we're breaking down the 7 financial mistakes that show up in almost every generation's story. Usually right before someone says the sentence, I wish I'd known this sooner. If you've ever felt like your paycheck kept growing, but your peace of mind never really did, stick around, because by the end, you'll know exactly which of these 7 you're standing in right now. And more importantly, how to actually get out. And if this is useful, do me a favor and hit subscribe. It genuinely helps this channel keep making stuff like this. Let's get into it. Mistake number 1, building the lifestyle before building the foundation. This one's sneaky because it never feels like a mistake while it's happening. It feels like progress. You get a better paycheck and suddenly the apartment you used to be perfectly fine with feels small. The car feels outdated. Cooking at home feels like a chore instead of a choice. So you upgrade one thing at a time, and each individual upgrade seems completely reasonable on its own. Say your pay jumps from $3,200 a month to $4,800 a month after a promotion. You're not reckless about it. You don't buy anything wild, but within about 8 months, your expenses quietly climb to match almost exactly. A nicer apartment, whether you're in Austin or Charlotte, a slightly better car payment, more takeout during busy weeks, a couple of subscriptions you don't even open anymore. You don't feel richer. You just feel like you're working harder to stay in the exact same place. That's lifestyle inflation, and it's mistake number 1 because it convinces you that spending more is the same thing as living better. It isn't. It's just a more expensive treadmill, and the treadmill only gets faster from here. Mistake number 2, having 0 shock absorbers. According to the Federal Reserve's most recent report on the economic well-being of U.S. households, roughly 1 in 3 adults said they couldn't cover an unexpected $400 expense using cash or its equivalent. Not $4,000, not $40,000, $400, a flat tire, a dentist visit, a subscription that auto-renewed at the worst possible time. Think about your car for a second. It has suspension because roads aren't smooth. Your financial life needs the exact same thing because life isn't smooth either. Most people spend years building speed instead of suspension, chasing the bigger paycheck, the nicer apartment, the better car, and they quietly skip the boring part, the buffer that keeps one bad week from turning into a bad year. Then the first real pothole hits, and everything cracks at once, all because nobody ever built the cushion underneath. Mistake number 3, turning debt into a lifestyle subsidy. Every generation has had its own version of this trap. Credit cards. Car loans stretched out to 7 or 8 years just to shrink the monthly number. Now it's buy now, pay later apps quietly splitting a $90 purchase into 4 harmless payments of $22.50. The math trick here is brutal because it's designed to work on your brain, not your wallet. A $1,200 laptop feels painful all at once. $33 a month feels like nothing. But stack enough of those $33 nothings on top of each other, and your entire paycheck is spoken for before it even lands. According to the New York Fed's Household Debt and Credit Report, total U.S. household debt crossed roughly $18.8 trillion in early 2026. Not all of that is dangerous. A mortgage can build real wealth. A smart student loan can raise your lifetime income. But consumer debt used purely to fund a lifestyle you couldn't otherwise afford is the version that quietly ends up owning you instead of the other way around, one minimum payment at a time. Now here's where most people zone out, so stay with me, because the next mistake is the one that costs the most money without you ever noticing it happening. Mistake number 4, underestimating what small money actually does over time. Spend an extra $300 a month on lifestyle upgrades, food delivery, a stack of subscriptions, a slightly nicer car, and that $300 doesn't just cost you $300. Invest it instead at a long-run average return of around 8% a year. That same $300 a month turns into roughly $447,000 over 30 years. Almost $500,000 from a decision that felt small enough to ignore every single month it was made. You don't feel that loss in the moment because the future is invisible and the dinner sitting in front of you is not. Compounding is boring for the first several years. It looks like absolutely nothing is happening. Then one day the tree that looked half dead for a decade is suddenly giving real shade, and the people who kept digging up the seed out of impatience are the ones left wondering why they started so late. Mistake number 5, financing your identity through comparison. Your grandparents compared themselves to the neighbors. Your parents compared themselves to co-workers around the office. You're comparing yourself to a few thousand curated strangers on your phone before you've even finished your coffee. People your age buying homes in Denver, traveling twice a year, posting a new car sitting in a driveway in Nashville. And even when your brain logically knows it's a highlight reel, it still reacts like it's the entire story. Here's what almost nobody tells you. A lot of the people you're comparing yourself to are also stretched thin, just with better lighting and a better camera. Feeling behind is expensive, because feeling behind is exactly what pushes people to say yes to purchases they don't actually want, just to feel like they're keeping pace with people who are quietly struggling right alongside them. Mistake number 6, fighting the small stuff while completely ignoring the big stuff. A lot of money advice obsesses over your morning coffee, and sure, small spending adds up eventually, but the Bureau of Labor Statistics found that housing and transportation together made up more than half of the average U.S. household's total spending in 2024. That means your biggest financial lever probably isn't your latte. It's your rent, your car payment, your insurance premium, and the subscriptions quietly stacking up in the background that you forgot you even signed up for. Cutting a $6 coffee saves you maybe $30 a month if you're really disciplined about it. Renegotiating your car insurance, downsizing an unnecessary car payment, or moving somewhere $250 cheaper, whether that means leaving Seattle for Phoenix or just switching neighborhoods, saves you that same amount or more every single month automatically without you having to think about it ever again. The big rocks move the needle. The sand just makes you feel productive. Mistake number 7, letting every raise disappear before you actually feel it. This one's maybe the sneakiest of all 7 because it disguises itself as winning. You get a raise, you've earned it genuinely, and within a month or two, your spending has quietly climbed right along with your new income. So your bank account looks basically the same as it did before the raise, just with more zeros moving through it on the way out. According to Vanguard's How America Saves report, plenty of people are technically enrolled in a workplace retirement plan, but the median account balance tells a very different, much less flattering story than the flashy average number everyone quotes. That gap exists for one simple reason. Raise after raise gets absorbed into lifestyle instead of getting captured for the future. Now, to be fair, some things really have changed between generations. Housing costs have shifted, interest rates have moved up and down, college costs look nothing like they did 30 years ago, job markets have reshaped themselves more than once. So it's not that every generation is imagining the difficulty, some of it is genuinely real and genuinely different. But notice the pattern underneath it. One generation stretched to buy a bigger house than they could comfortably afford. Another financed a car to match a new promotion. Another leaned on credit cards to hold a lifestyle together. This generation is doing it through buy now, pay later apps, food delivery subscriptions, and streaming bundles that make spending feel completely painless. Different tools every time, same underlying mistake every time. It's building the second floor of the house before anyone's poured the concrete for the first one. It looks like progress right up until the structure starts shaking, and it usually starts shaking the moment life throws something unexpected at it. A layoff, a medical bill, a rent increase nobody saw coming. There's a story that keeps repeating itself across every single generation, almost word for word. You start earning real money, you feel behind so you upgrade quickly, you tell yourself you'll save later. Later becomes next year. Next year becomes 5 years. 5 years quietly becomes 10. Then one day you look up, realize you've been working hard for a decade, and don't have much to actually show for it. That's the cycle. You don't have to be the next chapter of it. You get to be the one who breaks it quietly, without needing anyone else to notice you're doing it differently this time. So here's the part that actually matters. What do you do instead? You don't need to become someone who never enjoys their own money. That's not the goal. And honestly, it's not sustainable anyway. You just need to change the order things happen in. Most people earn, spend, and then save whatever happens to be left over, if anything's left over at all. Financially stable people earn, save first, and then spend guilt-free on whatever genuinely remains. That single reordering changes almost everything, because when you save last, your lifestyle ends up controlling your future. When you save first, your future starts controlling your lifestyle instead. Practically speaking, that looks like 5 specific moves. First, build a real gap between what you earn and what you actually spend. Even a 10% gap can quietly change your entire financial trajectory over a few years. Second, freeze your lifestyle for 3 to 6 months after every single raise, and send the difference straight towards savings or debt instead of letting it evaporate into subscriptions and upgrades. Third, attack the big fixed expenses before you ever touch the small ones. Rent, car payment, insurance, recurring subscriptions. Fourth, build just 1 month of basic expenses in a buffer before worrying about 6 full months. That first month alone already turns most emergencies from catastrophic into merely annoying. Fifth, automate an investment transfer the day you get paid, even if it starts small at $25 or $50, because right now the habit matters far more than the amount. Here's the honest truth underneath all of this. Every generation looks back eventually and says the exact same sentence: I wish I'd started earlier. Yours doesn't have to end the same way, because now you know all 7 traps before you fall into them, instead of years after. So here's your actual homework for this week. Calculate your real gap between what comes in and what actually stays. Find one fixed expense you can shrink, cancel, or renegotiate this month, and automate one transfer, even a genuinely small one, so your future self finally gets paid first for once instead of last. If this helped you see your money a little differently, hit like, drop a comment telling me which of these 7 mistakes hit closest to home for you, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Because the goal was never to look financially successful. The goal is to actually be financially secure, and that starts with the very next dollar you're about to spend. Not the dollar you spent last month, not the dollar you'll spend next year, the very next one, right now.